But if we have the moon as kind of framework to tell us when we reflect on which part of our soul, I feel like that's a super beautiful connection.
We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Hello, you beautiful soul. I'm so excited that you're here and that we get to spend some time together. And of course, that you're joining this beautiful conversation. My guest today is Michelle Yara, who just spent a year in Costa Rica. She's a yoga teacher. And in this amazing interview, she shares with you the power of the moon and how you can use that power, a lot about female energy and how we should embrace way, way more our female energy, and so many more wisdoms about yoga, spirituality, the power of nature, and that we all carry our true wisdom within. So enjoy this beautiful conversation, and thank you again for being here. Michelle, I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and to spend some time with us and to share all your knowledge with us. And welcome to Empowering Vibez.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here and talk to you, and looking forward to that conversation.
Me too. For the viewers who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself and share a little bit what your life is currently looking like?
Okay, so wow, my life, what it's currently looking like, it's that I came back from Costa Rica. I was living there for about a year and doing some different projects related to yoga, related to women's work and creativity. And I'm currently in Barcelona. So here I'm also working as a yoga teacher, as a Tantra yoga teacher, actually. That's one of my big influences. And also, I love art, intuitive art, and everything that is related to, creating a ritual out of our lives and relating to our senses and to nature.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. How did you yourself discover your passion for yoga?
Well, we've talked about this the last time for so long. I remember I was traveling. I was super young when I started traveling. And actually, I didn't get straight into the yogic path. It was more like the general alternative medicine, holistic science, holistic philosophy path. So I think it started when I went to Latin America, when I connected to the Mayan woman community in Guatemala. So that was one big heart opener for me, being in this community, learning from those wise, beautiful women. And also from there on, like more and more things came up that kind of surprised me, that kind of fascinated me, that had to do with a whole new world that I didn't know before. So yoga was just one of those things, but it was all super connected, like this whole experience of, wow, there's so much more. Yeah.
For those who don't know the Maya community and what Maya is, would you all share more about that with us?
Yes, I'm actually not an expert. I worked a little bit with indigenous communities in Latin America, and the Maya tribe is one of those communities. It's indigenous people that have been originally living in those areas that are, that were then later on colonialized by the Europeans and Americans and everyone else, but it's basically natives that are super connected to those lands because they've always been there. So there's so much wisdom that we don't know, that we don't have access to, but they do. So yeah, that's a big cultural aspect of their tribe. Yeah.
How would you say is the difference in between how they are living and how we are living in Western society?
Wow. I don't even know where to start. They are so much more connected to the universe and the earth. It's a whole different way of viewing this life. And For example, I think there's a huge difference in our communication. One, it was actually it was an Indigenous woman that talked to me about their communication and our communication, and she said, in our world, our word doesn't mean anything. Like, we say things, we even sign contracts, we print out stuff several times, and it means nothing. And in their community, once a leader or like a member said something in some part of their territory, it, with only having it said one time, it can reach the other part of the area, like just mouse by mouse, you know, like they put so much more importance and mindfulness and consciousness into what they say and how they say things. So a single word can have a higher value than in our world. That was very beautiful. And also, like, the youngest and the oldest people of a community are the most precious persons, because they are the future and the knowledge, the wisdom. And in our community, well, in our society, in our capitalist society, we appreciate more like the hardworking middle-aged group that have had their education and are now able to produce and to use their working force. So that's super beautiful to me, how they view humans in general. Yeah.
Very beautiful. What would you say were your biggest lessons in the time that you lived there?
Connecting to my body in many levels, to my soul as well, and making my body my home. I moved so much, and I actually got to a point where I was very tired of moving around, and I was like, okay, I'm 21 now, and I'm ready to settle down and just live in my kind of isolated home or whatever, because it's a huge impact on the body to move from culture to culture and to create your home in each new place that you arrive to. But when your body is your home, there's nothing that can disturb you. There's nothing that can bring you into imbalance. And I think that's still one of the biggest challenges, and to keep my routines, to stick to my inner true essence as much as I can, if outer things are moving around and changing. So yeah, I think that's one thing that traveling teaches everyone, if they want or not. Can't get around it. Yeah.
You mentioned your routines. What do your routines look like on a daily basis, on a monthly basis? Do you want to share some with us so you can inspire us?
Yes, so I really like that's something I discovered, especially the past 2 years or so. I like to connect my cycle, my rhythm, to the moon's rhythm. I think we have talked about this before as well. I feel like the moon is something, especially for women, that can kind of guide us. I mean, we can have moon rituals without the moon. Yes, we can set intentions each month and release things each month as well. But if we have the moon as kind of framework to tell us when we reflect on which part of our soul, I feel like that's a super beautiful connection, like universal connection. And so what I normally do is on a monthly base is once a month ask myself questions. I love to think about important questions that I want to talk about, that I want to talk to myself about. So I would normally do this when a new season starts, like when a new sun sign comes up. So I, for example, from Cancer to Leo season, I have my journal stuff ready already before the season starts, and then get into a deep conversation with myself. Maybe I go to a cafe or to the beach and stay there for hours and just write down the answers to those questions that I have researched before. And then I like to do release rituals, like either under the shower or under a waterfall, if there's the option, like in a wild river or whatever, and just be there. Imagine, like visualize myself letting go of all kinds of stuff I want to let go of, and breathe out, exhale, and really feel the water cleansing me. That's something I love to do with the full moon. But it can also be under the shower, as I said, like just be under the shower and exhale. Doesn't matter if you can hear a sound, if your roommates or your neighbors, whatever they might think, just exhale and you will feel the effect if you set the intention to let go and release. Or with the new moon, I love to set intentions. I love to sit on my balcony and just watch the stars and think about, maybe do a small vision board with my ideas, my wishes, my manifestations for the next months, or just write down what I'm inviting into my life, what I'm calling in. And it can, like one of my art therapy teachers once told me about this moment just before you fall asleep, this like magic moment where the consciousness goes into the subconscious or unconscious. And that's a super powerful moment that I love to use as well. If I have some issue that I'm struggling with, or if I have something that I need to solve, I just give it right in that moment to the universe. And she always said it's necessary to say it only once, so you can you don't even need to pronounce it out loudly. You can just think about it like a superior version of myself or universe or whatever you want to talk to. Please solve that or this topic for me. And I give it to you. I surrender to it. I trust into your ability to solve it. So there it is. And then you let go. And it happened so often that I never again even think about this topic, because it just automatically transitions into something else.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So
thank you so much for sharing all this.
I should tell you a little bit about my Should I say tell you about my day a little bit as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to.
My mornings, okay, because I haven't really mentioned that. What is super important for me is the morning time frame. So I always tell my yoga students, and also for myself, I love to not have any technological device in the first hour after waking up. So maybe I just brush my teeth or whatever, but I have this space of silence with myself to really ask myself, check in how I'm feeling on each level. And I think that is, if you don't have a morning routine, if you only do this, like staying away from your phone, like keeping it in flight mode or whatever, the first hour or half an hour, I promise it will change something in you and within the connection with you. And I personally, I love to activate my voice through chanting, or just sit in silence or move the body, like not doing too much exercise, but a little bit. And but I think the most important aspect is the silence. And then you can write down whatever you want to write down, or not do anything at all. Just being with yourself and seeing what comes up, observing. Yeah.
Very beautiful. In the morning. Thank you so much. You mentioned that you always ask yourself with the new moon some journaling questions. Is it like every moon the same? If so, would you want to share them with us? Or is it always depending on what season it is? And if so, do you just want to share some examples so we can get some inspiration?
Yeah, it always depends on the season. I mean, I don't do it with I mean, yeah, I do it normally in the first few days, like when our season changes and the sun transitions into a new sign. That's just when I feel like it's a good moment to sit down and have this date, because it does need some discipline. Like if I don't prepare it, I don't do it. So that's why I picked this this date. But it doesn't really matter if you want to do it for the full moon. It can be some questions around releasing as well. So I do share it with, I started sharing them with some friends and they liked it. So sometimes I do post them on my stories, or share them on Instagram in general. And a lot of people give me the feedback that it helped them to not be like too lost when it comes to starting a conversation with themselves. Like, and I totally understand it. I think it's good to do some freestyle writing as well every once in a while, but I totally understand that it's more difficult. So yeah, I like to have those inspirations, and I also love to share them because I really see that it might help. Yeah.
How has journaling helped you?
I think it has helped me to kind of get towards the surface all the stuff that is that I'm not really mindful about, or that I'm not really aware about. So I think the moment you sit down with yourself with the intention to be completely honest and without any expectations, some magic happens. Like when you just let be what is there, and you write something, or you can even paint. You don't have to write in words, like in human language. You can find your own language and just express yourself. And that's something, when we unattach from our expectations of creating any result, and just do something for the purpose of practicing this and being in the moment. That's super powerful, and we can get surprised about ourselves. And I get surprised each time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to journal and write about this. And then I have this question, and I think I already know what my answer is. But I start writing, and my body wants to express something else. It's super powerful.
Beautiful. That shows how important really these practices are, because in coaching, we always say the problem is never the problem, because we always think there's this and that is a problem, but then actually there's like behind it something totally different. And I feel like too that journaling is a very, very nice way to find like under all the surfaces, under the layers, and go deeper. So thank you so much.
Yes, and sometimes it's not even important what's the problem, or maybe the problem is not even a problem. I mean, it's really not about finding out anything, or that's the beautiful thing about it, to go completely without any expectations.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so often it's also just kind of like, I sometimes call it brain dump, because, so often we go in circles in our thoughts, and like once we write them down, it's like this endless thing also kind of like stops, because we once like put them really down on paper, or voice them also in a different way if we talk to a friend or somebody who is helping us. And that also is a very, very powerful tool to stop this like circle conversation that we sometimes have when we ruminate about something that is keeping us occupied in our thoughts.
Yes, or even, I mean, depends where you are, but I did this in the jungle. You can just walk into a park or the woods or wherever, but like shouting it out loud, maybe if you want to write it down before, do it. But if not, if it comes spontaneously, just shout it out. Like I release this, or I surrender to that situation, or any sort of what you value about yourself, what you hate about yourself. Like just pronouncing it out loud. Sometimes it needs this release of like getting rid of the blockage that is here in the communication, well, between us and the environment and us and ourselves.
You work a lot with your voice, don't you? Because you also mentioned that you're in the morning chanting.
I need to, because I realized that that's a big struggle that for many years I didn't know how to express myself. When I was younger, I was in the theater, and that helped a lot. But then later on, I kind of, especially as a woman, I kind of lost this connection to my true expression, which is, of course, it's super difficult to truly express without any concern about what other people think about us. But I do have like this, blockage when it comes to bringing out what is in me. Like, I think that's a thing many women deal with. And when I realized, wow, that's my issue. I started doing like voice therapy, and I'm still like, the first thing when I'm mentally or psychological affected that happens is that my voice disappears. And I don't know why. I'm completely helpless to that situation, and it frustrates me. It makes me so angry. So yeah, that's something I have there, like, to.
Which is very interesting, because when we see you talking like this, we would not think, like, you're so easily sharing all that you've learned, everything that you know, and it seems so coming so naturally to you. And you're also a yoga teacher, so kind of like also the gift that you're giving to other people is through your voice. And I always find this very interesting, that kind of like where we have the biggest gift, there's also kind of like the biggest blockage or fear sometimes, and so on. And I feel like to express a true gift that we're here for, we have to kind of like climb the highest mountain. So thank you so much for sharing this.
Wow, yeah, that's super beautiful. Totally. Our biggest gift is our biggest challenge as well, to overcome our biggest mountain. Yeah.
You seem to be a very spiritual person. What does spirituality mean to you? What do you feel for you spirituality is?
Well, first of all, I think spirituality for me is something I don't take seriously at all, because I often feel like that's what kind of ruins it. The moment we take life in general, or spirituality or anything else, too serious, and we get kind of stuck in one direction. Yeah, that's not how I see this whole world of spiritual practices or whatever. So I'm always, actually, my friends know that I'm always making fun about super spiritual people, and I'm always, for example, I'm in Costa Rica. There was this community I was spending some time with, and I love their events. I love the vibe. But as soon as I sit down with like an individual from them, and they tell me about their world philosophy, about their conspiracy almost, or their ideas, I'm like, okay, I really have to kind of close down at some point, because for me, there's not one truth. There are many ways of interpreting the same reality, and I feel like I see so much more spirituality, and I connect much deeper with people that are not spiritual at all, and that won't consider themselves as spiritual. Like, for example, surfing for me is probably the most spiritual experience that I've ever had. And it's so simple, and there's so many connected people you meet through surfing or in the water, and they don't know what yoga or tantra is, or they don't have any explanations for what is happening inside of them when they are immersed in nature, and when they are one with the ocean. And that's always, I don't know, in Costa Rica, I was always like, yeah, I can go to the mountain and be like doing my dances with the spiritual community there and taking plant medicine every day or whatever. Or I can just be with nature, not listen to anyone, but to myself and to what nature tells me, and connect with like those simple people that, in my opinion, are so much deeper than, the whole knowledge, like spiritual wisdom stuff that comes from the outside. I don't know. That's really how I would describe my spirituality, like super simple and down to earth, and just having like nature as my teacher, and listening within.
This is
But
really, this is a very beautiful definition. I think it's also very important that you share this, because I feel there are a lot of people who like put some seriousness to it. And I think when a life based on faith is like, there's some lightness that comes with it. And it's very important that you mention that this lightness is with it. And that it's because I also feel like if we're talking about the philosophy of spirituality and all these kind of things, that comes from the head. But like spirituality or like the higher power that exists or whatever is being felt. So thank you very much for sharing this.
Yeah, like just the love that you can spread, feel or experience or give or receive. Like it's really just, it comes back to love for me personally, and everything else is just not important. And that's also what I tell people, or especially women that feel like they can't do yoga because they don't know enough about the philosophy and about the gods or about whatever, or they cannot do any certain pose. Like it doesn't matter. It's all your mindset. It's your attitude, the love you spread, and how you face yourself, how you face life, how you face other people. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing this. You mentioned that you in Costa Rica, you also learned a lot or spent some time with kind of like the female energies. Do you want to share more about that with us? Like, what does the female energy stand for? What is the power of us women? And yeah, I would love to know more about that.
Yes. I connected to the female energy already kind of a couple years ago through Tantra, actually, and while living in a Tantric ashram. And I think it really comes back to perceiving Mother Nature more consciously, and living in our cyclic nature. So for me, it really came back to accepting that I'm not as well, maybe productive, because I've always been kind of a super overproductive person, and to see that there's much more in that feminine potential when we let it flow the way it wants to flow, and when we let it I have a German word now in my mind.
You can say the German word, and maybe I can explain it. Not, I have a lot of German-speaking people, so
it's like Entfaltung.
Yeah, kind of like
this.
Not embracing
kind of
it.
Coming out of our embracing, but also coming out of our cocoon and really living our full beauty without any judgment for good or bad. And our standards in our society are masculine. That's what we compare ourselves to. So the moment we let go of those standards and we kind of change our perception of how this world works for us, and how it is how we are designed to fit in, I think in that moment we can let go of so much pain, of so much judgment and guilt as well. I often felt guilty for feeling how I feel, or being as I am, or experience the world the way I do. And connecting to the feminine energy has brought me so much more kind of calmness and acceptance. And I feel like really, if there's no part of me that I'm denying, that's when I really become my true self, that is super unique and super potent to also contribute something valuable and something precious to this world. And for me, it means, like, for example, being in my feminine energy when it doesn't matter where we are living. Actually, of course, it's easier in nature, it's easier in paradise, but it's not always simple there neither. And it's it comes back to allowing ourselves to feel free, to feel good, to allowing ourselves not only to have fun, but also to give priority to everything that makes us feel good and connected. Because when we are connected and in our balance, that's when we are functioning also the best, and that's when we can have this full experience and not just one shade of it. And I feel for me it has taken me a while to be like, okay, I need my routine of maybe almost 3 hours a day, and that's okay. I mean, as a people, it's way more accepted in our society to play video games, to watch TV, to do other stuff as really compensation. But if that's what I need, that's okay. And I don't need to feel guilty about it, for example.
Thank you. I think this is a message a lot of women needed to hear, because it's truly, whoever I talk to in our society, it's exactly that we're all comparing ourselves to the male energy, and we're not embracing that.
Yeah.
As women, we're actually, like, our power is to receive, like, just, I think the perfect picture is basically when we get pregnant, and from the point of becoming pregnant until there's like truly a baby coming to world, actually we don't do anything other than taking care of our bodies, resting, feeling good, and just kind of like giving our body to nature, and it all does it itself. So
no, that's a beautiful metaphor. I actually the day before yesterday, I was at the beach with with a friend of mine that is a few years older than me, and she's pregnant now, and she's super in her receiving energy, and she tells me that it's the first time that she feels that way. And I gave her like a belly massage for her pregnant belly, and it was the first time that someone touched her belly in like 8 months of pregnancy. And her not her husband, I think they're not married, but still her partner never touched her belly before. And I was like, okay, if you want to have like a pleasant rest of pregnancy and birth, you need to connect to this feminine masculine energy of giving and receiving also with your partner, because it's something he also doesn't know, because we live in this society that won't give us any education about energetic dynamics that are super important for our vitality, for our well-being, our most basic functioning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that story. That also shows a lot how important it is that we know more about this, because it's truly like, I am coming from a like pushing, like that was the energy I always went through. And once I like learned more about the female energy and so on, it truly like, I kind of like went through exactly the same like you, that I started to allow myself to rest, that I allow myself and like stopped feeling guilty and so on, because that's what we women need. And that's what we're made for, to also be this creative vessels and all these things. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yes. No, creativity is a super good tool to creative rituals or exercises. I'm currently doing an exchange with a friend where I kind of show him how to access his creativity. And I think it is so important because it can be like a tool for us to be in that energy. Otherwise, it's super difficult. Like we feel guilty when we rest, or we feel like we don't do anything. But creativity is kind of a small key, like a small sheeting tool, I think, to get more into that flow.
Absolutely. And creativity can only come once we rest, because otherwise otherwise creativity doesn't have the room. So, but would you like to share with us how we can get more access to our creativity?
I think first of all, I love to connect to my creativity, and I'm feeling really fulfilled when I do it, but I do struggle with creating space in my daily life for it because of those guilty feelings of not doing anything that makes sense or that is logical or that brings us further in life. So I love to, for example, invite myself to a journal date. I mean, writing is just one thing that is creative expression, but it can be also drawing. I don't like to draw or paint in public, but some friends of mine go to a cafe and start their painting session, and they actually plan it in their calendar. So I do the same with free writing, like poetry or just journaling. And I love to have this idea of inviting myself to a date. And I also love eating alone in a restaurant. So that's something I combine. I know I don't have anything planned for dinner on that day. So I pick a restaurant. Probably a vegan restaurant that I wanted to go to for a long time. And then I go there and I just stay there for 3 or 4 hours. And sometimes even the waiters check in with me if I'm fine. or if I'm depressed or something, and I'm like, no, I'm actually having the best time of my life. I'm taking time to create space for what I love, and that's super perfect. And I love to also communicate it like this, because some people are like, oh, there's like a woman on their own having a drink or whatever. I'm like, no, that's how it's supposed to be. We need to be on our own, and we need to work on the relationship with ourselves. So maybe I would say, if there's any creative task that you have in mind or any exercise, like really write it down in your calendar and plan like a certain time space for that activity. Or maybe even before going to bed, do like something small, like every day before going to bed. And then maybe like this, it can establish step by step, in a more easier way without forgetting about it, forcing too much.
I love the idea of taking yourself on a date. I truly love that. I often go, especially when I'm in countries like Bali or so on, I go like by myself, also for journaling and so on. But this active thought of taking yourself on a date makes it like very special and so on. And I will definitely take that into my life. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure a lot of viewers and listeners will also do that. You mentioned before that you were living in an ashram where they were teaching like the Tantric philosophy. Do you want to share a little bit more about what Tantra is, about your time there, what you learned, and how you experienced that time in the ashram?
Yes, I never actually knew what Tantra was, and I was not interested in it. I wanted to go to a farm, I think, to learn about permaculture. So I totally got it wrong. Like I found this project. I had some free time during the summer months, because in Spain university ends in June. So I was like, so I have until like a couple of months until I start again. And it was actually just my university break, and I was like, I wanted to be in nature, and I didn't have a super deep connection to like any philosophy at that point. So the moment I arrived there, I realized that there was something about this place, like some energetic, like big energetic, Spanish you would say gancho, like something that gets you stuck there, or that holds you there, that attracts you like a magnet. So I was just actually living there, super normal life. It's in Tantric philosophy, you take a lot of time to get into the teachings. So there's a long period of just settling in, of just connecting to nature and accessing the knowledge on your own. And then when the teacher feels that you're ready to receive also some knowledge from the outside, you can get that as well. But it's mostly like all of my experiences in that ashram. I realized later, in that moment I didn't really think about it, but later I realized that it was kind of self-infused. Like there was nobody telling me anything at any point. It was maybe like the maximum was us having like a group dynamic of energetic work, or doing some practices or dynamics of kind of feeling what is going on. But it's basically feeling, and it's a philosophy that is transmitted by feeling more than teaching. So it's really a long process, and I had a huge release also. The first few weeks in that ashram, I got super sick. I had some emotional releases that I didn't even know why, and there was nothing from there was no reason for it. I was just living there and doing like gardening work, living my own lifestyle as always, and just I think it taught me a lot about like less is more, and a teacher is not always the person appearing, like mostly appearing a teacher, or saying that they are a teacher, or healers. Or before that I got very impressed, especially when traveling, by all those healers you meet, by all those people that seem to be so powerful in their education and in everything. But there it was actually like coming back to what's in me, and realizing that it's actually not being guided by anyone, and that we are all the same, and super equal, and
Thank you.
very natural.
Thank you. Your story really shows that we truly have all the wisdom within. And it's not about like studying more, learning more, getting more educations, more trainings, more but more kind of like, as you said in the beginning, like quieting all the outside sounds and voices and so on, and kind of like listening to the voice that we have within, and all the wisdom that we have within. So thank you so much for sharing. I think this is a very, very powerful lesson. I have a question that I like to ask always at the end of my episodes, which is, I'm giving you the wonderful ability to turn back the hands of time, and you meet your 18-year-old self. I assume you're right now traveling the world, and you're allowed to share 3 wisdoms with her. What would you say?
Wow, so the same question I was struggling with the last time we've talked, because of course there's so much I kind of regret, or I would love to flip around, but also on the other hand, of course, it's all important to accept as it is, and to appreciate the process, and to know that the process was and is important, exactly as it was. So I don't know, when I go back to my 18-year-old self, I think I would give her a lot of love. I would tell her to love herself, and to work on that relationship. And I would tell her, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like I can't even express how much I regret, and how much I'm sad about not having started that earlier. But other than that, I feel like it was super important that she did her own thing, and that did exactly what she needed to do in order to grow, even if it was not the perfect thing to do in that moment. So I think it's all good. I would not tell her anything else besides searching more inside and focusing on all that she carries within.
This is a very beautiful answer. Thank you. Where can we find you if we want to connect with you, if we want to find your journaling questions, if we want to do yoga with you, or how can we connect with you? Where can we find you?
So I would say that Instagram is probably the easiest way at the moment. You can find me with the name at Embody Boundlessly. So just drop me a message there if you like. And I have some events coming up in the close future in case you are in Spain or in Europe. So I would be super excited to share that with you and get to know you personally. Also, hopefully in like one of my women events or yoga classes if you're in Barcelona.
Thank you.
So,
Michelle.
Also the journaling questions. It's good that we've talked about this because I left it. I did one whole year of journaling questions for each month. So if you want to stick to them, you can find them also on my Instagram profile. But you are just reminding me actually to continue with that.
Yeah.
Because
I saw them that they're in their story highlights and they're truly beautiful. So everybody listening, watching, I would definitely recommend you to check them out and to start integrating them into your life. And Michelle, I want to thank you for your time, especially that since the first round didn't work, that you find your time again. I'm so grateful for all the wisdom that you shared with us. It's truly, I feel like you're truly a person who walks your talk. And that is just so beautiful. And I love that you're sharing so much wisdom and philosophy and so on from other cultures than ours. And I feel like the world truly needs that, especially our society. So thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute beautiful conversation. And I'm so grateful that you are here.
Well, thank you for your time and energy as well.
Now, I would like to know from you, what did you learn today and how can you put it into action? Leave a comment below or hop over to Instagram at HannahWiz and leave a comment under the post of today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this episode served you and never forget to shine your light.